Good evening. Welcome to Your Weather Today with Dooley Godot, and I'm going to bring you the forecast for the Upper Midwest. We're going to talk about the big storm that's moving across the country, bringing lots of snow. That brought some snow here to Minnesota and to Iowa and other parts of the Upper Midwest. It's currently down in Missouri and Arkansas and extending into portions of the deep south into Louisiana and Mississippi, bringing heavy rain, ice, and snow. And that storm, we're going to talk about how that storm is going to move into the east coast, to the northeast, going to bring some more rain and lots of ice and freezing rain and snow to the New England states and other parts of the northeast. We're going to talk about that. And at the end of the video, we're going to talk about a really spectacular volcanic eruption. I'm really excited about that to show you that content. And for right now, let's get started. We're going to jump into our first numerical weather model, and it is going to be the Gfs model. It's going to take us in, and we're going to start with that, and we're going to talk about that big storm that's currently centered over Arkansas right now. It's where the center of circulation is shown, and you can see down there across Arkansas and Missouri is bringing heavy snow, and then we got rain moving up from the Louisiana and Mississippi. So New Orleans is getting inundated today with heavy rain, but at least you folks won't have to deal with any snow. But that snow, you see that deformation zone here, and where that snow is wrapping around that upper low pressure center. The upper low pressure center is set right about here, as you can see our low pressure, and we're going to move into the future. Let's move out 18 hours from now and see where that storm is going to be. It's kind of rounding the base at the bottom of that main trough. This storm is rounding the base, and it's going to make its way up the east coast. As you can see here, it's bringing lots of heavy rain in the mid-south. The Carolinas, Georgia is going to see rain. Maybe a touch of snow in the Atlanta area. Could see maybe a half inch to an inch of snow and some freezing rain and ice. Here we have that ice, that cold air dam here crossing over the mountains of the Appalachians. Going to make a hard freeze, and that rain is going to turn to freezing rain as those temperatures freeze on contact with the surface. So that storm, we're going to move it on out. It's going to move on to the northeast. Here it is as it moves into, as we look at it now here for the 17th, which I believe is Monday, and it's going to bring that freezing rain wrapping around this upper low pressure center, as it's now at 991 millibars. Very strong low pressure center, and you can see that rain around that freezing rain around the DC area. And you can see that there, and that snow band in this deformation zone. Very heavy snow in Pennsylvania and New York, as you can see that. Now let's move it on up the coast. As you can see, going to be heavy snow in Boston. That snow line is really close to Boston. It could be that Boston actually gets very cold rain, maybe some freezing rain, and then change over to snow. You're going to get snow. It's just a matter of what you're going to see first. Are you going to see regular rain, then freezing rain, and then that transition on over to that heavy, wet snow as the storm makes its way up the northeastern coastline. So we're going to see this storm as it deepens further to a 972 millibars. It really deepens as it moves up the eastern seaboard. So we're going to see this storm here. And now we have the makings of our next Alberta Clipper, which is going to come down out of western Canada into the northern states again of North Dakota and Minnesota. We're going to see snow primarily northern Minnesota and this is what we're going to see for the 18th on Tuesday. You're going to see that snow see this system bring some snow to northern Minnesota and Wisconsin. And this is going to stay primarily a northern track, It's going to stay pretty much inland. Going to go across the Great Lakes. You're going to see snow across Michigan and Wisconsin, and it's going to make its way into the inland parts of the Northeast. New Hampshire, Vermont, Maine, upstate New York is going to see snow. You're going to see some snow from the system around Buffalo and Albany, New York. You're going to see snow in Portland, Maine here as this storm makes its way off the East Coast. And then there's our next system coming in off of Boston, and you're going to see this next potential weather maker for next week as this system becomes another weak, kind of weakens as it moves across Canada. And you can see it's going to bring some more snow to upper Midwest, Minnesota again. You're going to get another shot of snow, a couple more inches of fresh powder around. And this is going to be on the 22nd. So we're going to see this one take a mainly northern track. And we have another southern system that kind of develops out of, that comes out of South Texas, moves across the Gulf of Mexico, and heads towards Florida. It's going to bring some showers and thunderstorms. And this one is going to get going here offshore, mainly being a weather maker for shipping interest. And there's going to be a little bit of snow in the Appalachians. Here in Tennessee and Kentucky, could see some snow, and across the Carolinas as well. North and South Carolina could see a little bit of snow and some freezing rain in here too. So another round of wintry weather for the 21st and the 22nd. And this one is going to head on out to sea as the upper level ridging takes place. You see this high pressure, so this is going to force this system out to sea. As you can see, a really strong ridge of high pressure built in over Nova Scotia and the North Atlantic. So as this system is going to get forced out to sea because of that high pressure. So that's what the GFS is showing us right now. So now we're going to take a look at the European model and see what the European model has in store for us and what it's saying about that same weather system. And the European is showing this same weather system, and both models are kind of identical and picking this system up very well as it sits across Arkansas and brings some rain, really cold rain, a little slither of freezing rain, and some snow across northern Arkansas and southern Missouri. You can see that. So you see that rain across Arkansas, a little bit of freezing rain here. This across northern Missouri, I should say Joplin, Missouri is seeing that snow. St. Louis and Kansas City is seeing that transition over to snow as they saw rain earlier in little freezing rain. So it's going to be a sloppy mess down here. You can get several inches of very wet snow. So we're going to progress through the future here. This storm is going to sink further into the deep south and bring showers and thunderstorms across Mississippi, Alabama, and Louisiana. You can see that make its way across Georgia. Very heavy rain. You see that freezing rain line here, that deformation zone, heavy wet snow, snow across the Carolinas, the western parts of South and Northern Carolina, as this is going to make its way and bring wet snow and freezing rain to the mountains, the Appalachians. And you can see that I really like the way the European model. I love the way it picks up that freezing rain right here. Some of these slithers of freezing rain, some of the models don't do a very good job of picking it up or showing the extent of the freezing rain. In this cold air dam right in here is going to be surface cold air. You can have surface temperatures are aloft, be a little bit warmer. It can fall as rain, but once it hit that layer of cold air, freezing air at the surface, right, just a couple meters, 2 meters above the surface, that is not enough time to it may be a layer of rain, snow, then rain, Then it freezes again right before it hits the surface, just a meter above the surface, a few feet above the surface. Then it refreezes so that when that rain or snow, that rain hits the ground, it's going to refreeze again. So you're going to get that freezing rain. That's what this is showing right here. So we're going to move forward, progress forward. Now we're looking at the 17th, which is your Martin Luther King Day. And this is that storm again, showing that heavy rain along the coast. Then freezing rain right in here. In this part of where Charlotte is, going to see a little freezing rain. In Raleigh, Durham, and North Carolina, could see some of that freezing rain as well as this storm takes on as you see, it drops below 1,000 millibars. It's a 995 millibar, 993. Really deepens as it hits up the mid-Atlantic and on up into the Northeast and New England. You see this storm really deepens, and as it deepens, that wraps in those isobars, gets really tight. That indicates a lot of wind. So you're going to have wind-blown rain and snow and freezing rain. So this is when you see that snow blowing sideways and that rain blowing sideways. You can have wind gusts as high as 50 miles per hour. I wouldn't be surprised if the National Weather Service issues blizzard warnings for parts of the Northeast especially. And our storm is going to move further along and deepen as it moves up the north, as it moves up into Maine. You can see that freezing rain for Boston. So it's the Euro is showing a little bit more freezing rain. You see this pink right here. That indicates freezing rain. Let's move it back a frame and move it back towards Boston so we can see how it shows that a little slither. See, around the Boston area, that line between rain and snow is a little bit more defined, where it kind of broadens out again as it gets into, you see a little bit more, and there's some really heavy snow in northern parts of Massachusetts, and you get to southern New Hampshire, southern Vermont, and Maine. You see that really heavy snow that's turning purple. It's so heavy. So this storm is going to move on off the show up to the northeast. And so you see as it moves off, the Euro has a strengthening, and that upper level low, it kind of gets deformed. It's no longer vertically stacked. See, this storm is pretty vertically stacked when it's in this move to the deep south, but once it gets to the northeast, you kind of see that upper low and that lower level low, they're not compact anymore. The upper low kind of lags behind as the rest of the system races off to the northeast and off into the Atlantic. And you see this energy here this is the upper low because it's no longer vertically stacked. It's kind of slanted and they're not directly connected. They kind of decouple. That's that couplet we're looking for. This is a decoupling. This is our deformation here, as you can see that. And so as it moves off to the northeast. So we have our next system working its way across Canada, and this is going to affect the northern tier of the nation. You can see the Euro shows less snow for the 18th, as the GFS showed a little bit more snow hitting more central Minnesota, possibly just north of the Twin Cities or the northern fringes of the Twin Cities, and hitting more towards central Wisconsin, where the European shows that a little bit less snow is really confined more into Canada than it is affecting any of our states. So it's going to keep off to the north here, and it's going to move on, and it's going to make its way. The GFS is more of shows more long term, so you can see further out, where the European only goes out to about maybe 3 days, 90 hours it goes out. So that's as far as it's going to go. So that's what we see for this system. So let's take a look at our next map. Now we're going to get into more of the upper Midwest where I want to focus some of my attention. We covered the national scene and what's making that news with the big storm is going to produce lots of heavy snow. Some places could see up to 20 inches of snow in the Northeast, especially in the interior portions of Pennsylvania, upstate New York, New Hampshire, Vermont, Maine, Massachusetts. The more inland you go, you're going to see that heavier snow, the higher the snow totals, because the places along the shore like Boston, Providence, and New Jersey, New York City, you guys going to have a period of freezing rain and mixed precipitation, so your snow totals is going to be low. You're going to get a lot of snow, but just not as much as maybe some of the more inland areas are going to get. So let's take a look at our overall map for the upper Midwest, and we're going to take a look and see what's going on here. And what we have going on in the upper Midwest, we have our influence of high pressure coming in here, and this is where what's going to be coming in for our Sunday, a little bit warmer weather here on our Sunday. You see our 1 day warm up for the 16th and the 17th maybe. So you see this is what we're seeing. This is today and tomorrow. So you'll see our next little small. You see our big general map did not pick up this small feature. This is going to be an area of flurries that we could see in the area maybe on the 15th of maybe sometime today. Now this here is actually the northern fringes of our big storm that's down moving across the southern parts of the nation, as you can see. And then you have there it is going through, and you see these little impulses right here, like this little weather system that's going to bring a shot of snow. And this is for the 26th, as you can see for that you see for the 21st. You see this here, this area of snow that's going to move, this little weather system that's going to move through and bring a shot of snow through parts of the upper Midwest. You're going to see this in Illinois and Indiana. Okay, so let's move on to our next map. We're going to talk about what's going on with the as we take a closer look at the state of Minnesota. It's what we can see here. Let's go back to the beginning of this run here. As we can see in Minnesota, you can see right now everything is really nice, really clear skies. A few high clouds out there. It's a very cool day. The temperatures are going to be in the single digits as we're in that backside of that storm system, and we're in that cold air that's funneled into it. The cold air is not so bad when you consider how strong this storm is. You would think it would be. I would expect it to be a lot colder than what it is. This winter has not really, we haven't really picked up them strong Arctic signals. We haven't spent too much time this. We've kind of been on a temperature roller coaster. Everything has gone up and down. We haven't hit those 30 and 40 and 50 degree low temperatures or high temperatures where it's really super cold for long stretches. We might get 1 or 2 days with some 25 degree wind chills and maybe a few below zero wind chill temperatures, but it may be just a day or two, and then it warms up briefly, and you kind of go back and forth with it as you deal with and as you can see, let's go back, we're going by. As you can see, our little for the 18th and 19th, that you can see that Alberta clipper go by. You can see that clipper goes through, and this little clipper here is what's going to be. There's another wave going through. You can see that clipper for the 18th. This here is for the 18th and 19th, or the 19th. You can see that this Alberta clipper is there, and this is what the European model is showing us. See, the European has, the GFS showed more snow here where the European is keeping that snow more in the Arrowhead and in the Canada and the very northern fringes of Wisconsin. You can see that move through, okay? So let's move on to our next map. Look at another part of the Midwest. And we have Illinois, where I have some friends and family that lives in Illinois. So it's really special to be able to cover Illinois' weather forecast going on and things like that and what's taking place there. So let's take a look at what's going on in Illinois. We're going to run the same map. And let's take a look at this. Now, what we're looking at here was this has already occurred. This is that big weather system that's currently down in the south. This is the map back a few hours ago as it was passing just to the west of Illinois. This is that big storm going through as it was going through Iowa and Wisconsin. I mean, not Wisconsin, Missouri, Iowa and Missouri on its way to the deep south, and that's what it looks like now. So let's and this is what the 17th, 18th. So it's going to be several clear days. So a nice stretch of weather for Illinois and Indiana and Iowa and in Missouri. You can see a nice stretch of weather here. There's another little fringe of that one weather system. For this is the 22nd, a little weather system is going to bring some light snow to parts of the upper Midwest. You can see Wisconsin there, the southern tip of Wisconsin, Illinois, northern Illinois, and eastern Iowa. You can see that snow move through, and then a little bit more robust system moves through on the 23rd. As you can see that go by, and then another Alberta Clipper. So we're gonna get these weak weather systems that move. Most of the time, these northern tier systems are pretty weak. They produce light snow, brief light snow, maybe an inch to an inch or two of quick hitting snow about every day and a half apart. They're usually about 12 hours or so apart. And they bring shots of cold air behind them, really cold air. So you'll have a brief warm up. That's warm air advection comes in ahead of the weather system, and then you'll see those. We're going to take a look at the North Dakota and South Dakota map now, and it's going to kind of show us what's going on there in the Dakotas as we look at what's going on in the Dakotas. Okay, so the Dakotas is showing pretty much the same here. As you can see that weather system come through. You have another. Let's slow this down. Let me control it. Let me not let the map do the run by itself. As we can see here, this weather system this is that same weather system for the 18th. That's going to come through that weak weather system, that weak Alberta Clipper that's going to bring a dusting of snow, a touch of snow to North Dakota in the northern, along the border. This is going to mainly stay along the border. So you see South Dakota is going to stay pretty much hot and dry, maybe a touch of snow on the, as we can see here. Hang on a second, it won't. And let's turn off the automatic here. So we're going to see that touch of snow come through on the 21st for North and South Dakota and Western Minnesota. And we're going to see that move on through. These move through rather quickly. So these snow events only last a few hours. And then you get that shot of cold air behind it. So that's what we're going to see with that. And now this is the map for Iowa. We're going to look at and see what's taking place for Iowa. So, for all you folks down in Iowa, this is what's taking place there. And you can see how, you can see, hang on a second here, let's go back there. There's our big storm that went through, and now it's going out of the area. And Iowa's not going to see too much activity over the course of the next week or so. Most of the weather systems are very far to the north along the Canadian border. So very nice conditions. Iowa's going to get a break. they're going to maybe feel shots of cold air. You got one weak weather system that's going to move through. These are going to be very weak, very light, nothing to worry about. Might make the roads a little slick, so you might want to be careful if you're going out traveling or anything. But these are going to be very quick hitting, very light precipitation events, very light snow, an inch or less predominantly. So we're going to take a look at some of our another look at what the National Weather Service has for watches and warnings across the nation right now. As you can see, the big area is down here across Missouri and Arkansas. This is our big storm with our winter storm warnings in effect. Winter storm warning here, and you can see this is for high winds, because the backside of the system is where all that cold air is coming down, because that cold air is coming wrapping in back behind here. And here it's like this because this is dry sliding because of the deformation zone here, and you can see that where that cold drier air mixes in. So temperatures are cooler because the front has already passed through Louisiana and Mississippi, currently entering Arkansas. So you can see these are the warnings associated with what's ahead of the storm. This is for the freezing rain here. This is a winter storm watch for this area, and this is for wind chill advisories here. And you can see this is for offshore interests. This is a small craft advisories, and more advisories related to shipping interests. So let's take a look at our national radar. See if we can see that big storm on the map here, and we look at what's taking place nationally. This is our national radar map here, and we're gonna see our big storm as it sits right here in the Missouri and Arkansas. You see the rain, the storms, thunderstorms, the rain. Not much in the way of severe weather associated with this storm. I haven't seen or heard too much about whether we didn't see any tornadoes here. It's much too cold for that type of severe weather because it's even in the 40s and 50s. So you're not really getting that temperature contrast where it's 70s and 80s ahead of the front, but where behind the front it's in the 20s and 30s is below freezing, but it's not that sharp contrast in temperatures with this system. But you see a lot of snow and freezing rain here in Missouri, and where that boundary is between that warmer air and that colder air. So now let's move on to the next video here, and we're going to talk about that Tonga volcano that erupted. That really, when you see this thing, it's really impressive, and how it goes, how big the tops of this eruption reached 100,000 feet into the atmosphere. And this is in the South Pacific near New Zealand and Australia, and this is the Tonga volcano. So this volcano triggered tsunami warnings in the area too. So it did spawn tsunamis for the Tonga Islands. Tsunami warnings was posted for the west coast of the United States, as also along from Alaska and western Canada into Japan, but the effects of the tsunami was negligible in those areas. It didn't measure too big of a tsunami, but the folks down in the South Pacific, Fiji, a lot of the islands in the Samoa and the islands in there around in that area did see those tsunamis occur because of this. This was quite impressive. I was really, when I first saw this video, my mind was blown. I was like, you should see the shockwave. The shockwave was humongous. It was impressive. I'm just like, wow, amazing, just to see that. But I want to focus and cover some of that And this volcano last erupted in 2015 was the last time this volcano erupted. It is located in the Ring of Fire. It is a subduction zone. It's a subduction volcano. It's also it's considered a super volcano, which has a large caldera, which erupts frequently every few years. It last erupted in '79 and several times through the '90s, and the last big eruption was in 2015. It's still erupting now. It's just quite the sight to see. So that's gonna do it for this video. Thank you for checking us out today, and I'm going to do my best to keep you up to date on what's taking place here in the Upper Midwest for all of our Corn Belt states, for North, South Dakota, Minnesota, Iowa, Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, and Michigan. So we're going to make this a daily thing. So I'm going to provide forecasts for the Upper Midwest every day, and I'm going to cover special weather events and events related to weather, like volcanoes, big earthquakes, and other things like that. So thank you for following us, and we'll be back tomorrow with another weather update, so we let you know what's going on. Okay, thank you, and have a good day.